Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about painting RV walls. We get a lot of questions about how you do it and if you can even paint RV walls. And the answer is yes, you can absolutely paint RV walls. It does take a little bit more work than painting a regular house wall, but I'm going to walk you through the steps. First, we do a ton of prep. We probably spend more time prepping the walls in an RV than we do actually painting them. And the first thing we do is to go around and fill all of the holes. So we just get some spackling and a putty knife, and we fill all of the holes. And then all of the cracks and seams and everything like that, we get some painter's caulk and we do that. In RVs, a lot of times they use a silicone caulking in the corners. And silicone caulking does not take paint, so you'll know that it's silicone because when you paint over it, it'll just kind of run off. All the paint will run off of the caulking. So a trick that we do is we actually will get the painter's caulk and put it over the top of the silicone caulking and let it dry, and then you'll be able to paint right over that. So that's the first step, just fill all holes. RV walls are very, very flat. There's not a lot of texture to them, so they don't hide many blemishes. So we'll caulk it, we'll go around, we'll get this they have these purple sanders. You can get at Home Depot, it's like a 2-pack, pretty cheap, and just sand over all those. And sometimes on the bad spots on the walls, you'll have to caulk them twice. And then after we're done filling all the holes and caulking everything's dried, we just sand every part of the walls. The wallpaper finish that they put on RV walls has a little bit of gloss to it that's meant to repel stuff. So you want to get rid of that so that it can actually adhere, the paint can adhere to that wall. So every spot of it needs to be sanded down. You don't need to go to town on that. You don't actually want to go all the way through the paper. You just want to rough it up. After you have filled holes and sanded, then we get this Tsp Cleaner, which is specifically made to help prep walls for painting, and this will also clean your walls and get any gunk off. You don't want any gunk or oil or residue on them because paint won't adhere to those either. So wipe them down, and then we just use this Bare paint primer. It's got low VOC, all of that jazz, and we just do 2 to 3 coats of that. We do not do a primer, we just do this. But when you first put that first coat of paint on, you're gonna start kind of freaking out just a little bit because it's not gonna look very good, and that's totally fine. A big trick with RV walls is to do multiple layers that are very thin and then dry well between them. If you do a really thick layer of paint, it's going to be more prone to peeling off. So I typically do the first coat, and then I will go through and I will sand off any burrs in between the coats and then do the second one. Another tip also is before you start painting, go around and vacuum and sweep any residue, especially if you have just done like ripped out cabinets like we did here. You want to make sure that you get any of the dust up, because if you have the dust in there, it's gonna blow up onto your walls and you'll get just like little burrs. But if you do happen to get any of those, you can use a sander to get those off the top. RV walls are super slick, so when you're buying equipment to paint them, make sure that when you buy the roller pads that you buy the cheap ones. You don't want them to have be super fluffy, or else they will put too much paint on the walls and then you'll have more streaks or more runs. Now when I'm painting, whether I'm using the paintbrush or the roller, I do an area, and before I move on to the next area, I try to kind of visually look over it, because it usually takes a few minutes for the drips to appear. So drips are always easier to take care of the sooner you take care of them. But if you happen to leave some drips till the next day or until they dry, like when I was doing the white on this room, the first coat on it, I did it it was pretty dark, and so when I came the next morning there was quite a few drips. And so you just get a putty knife, and then you'll just scrape that off and then get one of those purple block sanders and work it out a little bit. And then you really can't see it. If it's not too bad of a drip, it'll go right away. And then the paintbrush I'd like to use is this 1.5 inch angled brush. It's, obviously this one's well used. And then you can see I have plastic, they're like 10 to 15, or 8 to 10 bucks, so make sure that you're getting the more expensive one. You can see I have plastic wrapped around this. It's actually just a plastic grocery bag, and because painting takes multiple days, especially we're doing this mainly full time, but we do have kids, and so I stop a lot, and we have to stop in between layers, and if kids need lunch, and then I think we're probably on day 4 of painting now, and so I will wash this sometimes when it seems to get too bad, but in between things I'll just wrap up a little bit of plastic so it will stay like this. This was from yesterday, and it'll be perfectly fine today. If it seems like it's getting a little bit clunky, kind of gunky at the top, rinse it. It doesn't take very long. But this roller pad I've used the entire time, and then this is kind of crappy right there, but I wrap it as tight as I can with a plastic sack. This obviously didn't do a very good job yesterday, but wrap it with a plastic sack, make sure it's tight, push it up against the paint in there, and then you don't have to rinse these every single time you're finished, and then you don't have to be blowing through them either. So I'll use the same roller pad for the entire color on a paint job, and then I have one just like that I have for the green. And if it's going to be a few days before you're using it again, you can even pop it in the fridge. But yeah, a paintbrush or a roller pad wrapped in plastic and put in a fridge will stay wet and usable for like a month. Especially if you're doing a little bit of painting every single day, just a few hours, this is a great way to go. Also, another tip for painting is it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I like to pick a room or an area. Like right now I'm working in the master and the bathroom right here. And I will pick one corner, so like say I start here, and then I work left to right around the entire room with whatever I'm doing. So first coat, and then cutting in, and then second coat, and then cutting in again. And and then touch up. So if you kind of just go all over the place, it gets really overwhelming. So just do work left to right around the room that you're working in, and don't move to another room or space or another step until you finish that whole first coat, that whole cutting in. This will make it a lot more manageable. So I'm actually using this entire space, the bathroom and the kitchen too, and so part of my rotations will be going into the closet, going in the bathroom, and then working around, and that keeps my brain focused, and then I don't get overwhelmed with all the painting that I need to do. So there you go, that's how you paint RV walls, and if you guys are diving into your own project, I wish you well, and comment if you guys have any questions.